Hey guys, what's going on? This is K-Knight23, the video game professor, and I'm going to be sharing some tips on fighting the first couple bosses in Dauntless. So, I haven't found a lot of videos that really go through and talk about some of the tells and the abilities that the monsters in Dauntless do, so I thought I would just throw some stuff up here now that the closed beta has started up. So this is all from the alpha, and although things are always subject to change, I didn't see too much in the patch notes that would suggest that some of these tells and strategies are irrelevant. So I'm going to be focusing on just the first few bosses, so this should help you get started, get doing some quests, and really getting your feet wet. I'll be back with some more updated lists on some more advanced monsters as soon as I can figure out how to beat them. Alright, so let's start off with the Shrike. So the Shrike is like a whole class of monster that's like a bird of prey, so owl. So you can expect a lot of swoop attacks and creating some distance, knocking people out of its way as it does a bunch of dive bombs, jumping on you, throwing tornadoes, and all that fun stuff. So let's go on to exactly what kind of attacks this class can do. So the first one that you should watch out for is when this guy like bends down and tucks his head a little bit. When you see wind starting to swirl around him and he spreads his wings, he's going to jump back and send a tornado in a straight line. Avoid getting hit by that, it can do a lot of damage. Now, if he bends down, spreads his wings, and dashes forward with little tornadoes under his wings, get out of the way, or if you're very careful and you time it right, you can smack him in the front or the head area, and that'll cause him to tumble back and just be vulnerable for a few seconds, so you can just unload all your attacks on him. Now, if he curls back and lowers his head, putting his wings towards the ground, that means he's going to leap into the air. Now, he'll be suspended in the air and flap 2 or 3 times as he looks at his target. At that point, after about 2 seconds, he's going to slam down, doing an AoE knockdown that will put you on your ass and be pretty painful, so avoid that. You can dash out of the way at the last minute, or you can just spam on the dash bar to try to outdistance the range of that. I wouldn't recommend spamming on your dashes, because stamina's important. Now, if he spreads his arms to the side and just glares at you, lowering one hand to the ground while he's chambering the other, he's going to start throwing some hooks. He's going to start swinging his wings and trying to punch you. He'll take a step and he'll swipe with his left, and then he'll take a step and he'll swipe with his right, and he can do that up to 4 times alternating. So you can roll past it or to the side of it to avoid it and get like a free hit, but don't get greedy. If you have a slow weapon like a hammer, you might really only want to hit him once and then get out of the way, because he'll turn on a dime and punch you in the face if you're not careful. Now, if he's standing up and he brings both of his hands behind him, he's going to dash on all 4s in a straight line. Usually this happens after he's been winded. He'll try to like get away, and after that he might even be winded again. So you can tell if he's on all 4s, panting and shaking his head, trying to, I guess clear his thoughts, evaluate his life choices, I don't know. Just be careful for that forward dash. Now, if he cups his hands to one side like he's going to be doing like a Hadouken, he will in fact do a Hadouken, except this time it's going to be wind-based and not, well, whatever the hell Hadoukens are made of. So if no one's close by, he'll potentially follow it up with a second one. If he's run away and you're in like a second phase, as you approach him, watch out, because as you close the distance, he'll be throwing these things out. The last thing I want to say is if he stands up with his wings outspread and goes into fire mode, he's enraged. He's going to deal more damage, and like that wind Hadouken could now be followed up with like a hook punch. He'll do like a Hadouken and then he'll try to punch you in the face, so watch out. You beat him down, you'll be fine. It shouldn't be too difficult. The Skraev is pretty much exactly like the Shrike, except he's now ice form. So if you have armor with frost resistance, that's going to be a plus. Weapons that have like the element fire attached to them could also be fantastic. So he shares a lot of the same tells with the Shrike, but there are a couple of key differences that could definitely catch you unaware and, ruin your day. So the first is that his wind slash can now like apply frozen. It might leave like a trail of ice behind it, and it can trap you in that block if you hit any of those ice mines that trail behind it. They will remain after that slash has kind of like gone through, so don't step on them. If you do, you're kind of vulnerable until somebody breaks you out, whether it's a friend who might be helping you out or whether it's the Skraev who's intending on killing you. So avoid those ice mines as much as possible. You'll also see him like bend down and kind of dig around in the ground like he's looking to bury a bone. When you see that happening, you need to get close to him and try to get out of his 180-degree arc, or if you're, mid-distance, you need to get far away from him. He's going to shoot out a bunch of ice spikes in about a 180-degree arc in front of him that will freeze everything in his path. So that can be a huge problem, especially if there's a bunch of people smashing his face trying to get his beak. If you are caught in that ice trap, then you need to get broken out by someone as quickly as possible. Ice spikes will be left behind that can act as walls and obstacles that can seriously hinder your mobility. So after that, if you might have like the chain blades, for example, one right click and you can clear those out, break them all down, and give you and your party a lot of room to maneuver. Like the Shrike, the Skraev will do a jump attack where he springs into the air and lands, causing ice spikes to jut up from the ground. This will not only knock you down if you get hit by it, but it will also apply a bleed effect on you. And that debuff is nasty. Anytime you expend stamina while you're bleeding, you're going to take damage. This is a fight where you might want to be using lots of dodges and rolls, so if you're bleeding, you're going to get hurt pretty bad. Definitely avoid that. Overall, you want to handle him like you would a Shrike. Just, break the frost spikes, maintain an advantageous position, try to stay on his side, don't get caught up in any of his hook punch combos. Eventually you'll shatter him, you'll break him down, and he'll be done. Nothing to worry about. The next monster I want to talk about is the Charrogg. Now this is like your first fire monster, and he's pretty easy to go through. Some of the stuff that you have to watch out for is the burning effect. This guy will light you on fire. Now, when you have the burning debuff on you, you can minimize its duration by rolling. One roll will usually take about a quarter off of the time the debuff is on you, so 3 or 4 rolls and you're no longer on fire. I mean, that's what we were told when we were kids. If you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. No different in Dauntless. Some of the stuff that he's going to do that you need to watch out for are like the lava lobs. He'll kind of arc his back and throw his tail up in the air, and he's just launching orbs of lava down. And when these hit the ground, they'll turn into these expanding pools that you do not want to touch. Additionally, when he gets really upset, he'll start to stamp his feet a little bit, and then he'll shoot out these 4 torrents of flame on all of his cardinal directions. And yeah, you don't want to get hit by those. You can stand in between them and kind of walk with it as he'll sort of rotate in a clockwise fashion. And if you have a fast attacking weapon and you happen to be either on his left side, right side, or maybe even his tail side, you can get quite a few hits on. If you're between the 2 torrents that sort of hug his head, you're not going to have a chance to get as many hits in because the area to move isn't going to be as expansive. Now, if you don't want to play that ring around the rosy game, you can just back all the way out of it and just wait for the wait for the attack to wear off. Wait for him to do something else. What he might do after that is pretty nasty. If you see him almost curl into a ball and start to glow, and this has been pretty glitchy in the beta. The animation has been weird and very animatronic. Anyway, if you see him kind of curl up and start to glow in a very sort of slow motion fashion, you need to start running back because he's going to shoot out a ring of fire that will expand outward from him in a very large radius, and it goes a very far distance. Now the good news is the further it goes, the more the flames that he's shooting out are going to separate, giving you some room to kind of work your way in between them and avoid that hit. But other than that, the Charrogg's not that bad to fight. As long as you can avoid getting lit on fire, you should be fine. He'll do a couple of like dash attacks and a couple of tail swipes, but they're all very easy to notice and very predictable. Just remember, like any other behemoth in this game, you don't want to get greedy. You want to watch your attacks, understand that each attack is a commitment, and eventually you'll get these guys down. Alright, so those are the 3 monsters that you'll probably encounter your first kind of problem. I mean, like the Gnashers are pretty simple. I don't need to talk about that too much. The Rage Tail we'll deal with another day. Anyway, if you have any more tips, please, by all means, throw them in the comments section. There's not a lot of info out on this game yet. The wikis are pretty sparse, so let's help build this community up. Alright guys, thanks a lot. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't be shy and subscribe, please. And if this is absolutely horrible, feel free to downvote the hell out of it. Alright guys, take it easy. Have a good day. This is K-Knight23, the Video Game Professor, signing out.